Welcome, everyone. This is Jim Miller. I'm the president and founder of Momentum Communications Group, and we work pretty much exclusively with nonprofit and mission-driven organizations, helping them through PR and communications. And it's been really inspiring to see so many of our clients during the coronavirus pandemic really contributing and stepping up in their own ways to make a difference. And we thought it'd be interesting to talk to some of them today about how they've been responding. So I'd like to welcome one of our wonderful clients, Bruce Bond, who is the co-founder and president of Common Ground Committee. Welcome, Bruce.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for inviting me.
So Bruce, to get started, I wonder if you could talk to our viewers about Common Ground Committee. What is it that you're all about?
Sure. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit 501c3. Our purpose is to bring healing to the challenges of incivility and polarization that currently plague our nation. And our motto is bringing light, not heat, to public discourse. Our primary means of delivering value has been through these really amazing events, if I might say so, that we've put on for the past 10 years now, where we have people of note, people like Secretaries of State Condi Rice and John Kerry, or Chris Wallace and Maggie Haberman, Chris of Fox News and Maggie Haberman of New York Times, people from opposite sides of an issue who appear on stage and have a discussion where, you know, the audience, many of them might think, well, there's going to be a food fight here. And in fact, they work together in a very positive, civil, and productive way. And it's extremely inspiring to the audience. And we've been very successful with these events. But of course, we live in a very different time right now where events aren't exactly in vogue. So we've had to pivot and make some changes as we've continued to pursue our mission.
Yeah, so I would love to hear more about that. How would you say that as an organization that's focused on these big public forums where you're bringing a lot of people together, how have you had to adapt? And not only that, but how have you found that your mission is in some ways maybe even more relevant today?
Yeah, so let me answer the first part of that. The second part of that first. The mission is as or more relevant today because the divides that we have out there are a little bit different in the sense that people are isolated. They're physically divided. And so we've shifted a little bit there with some of our work. But I think that the other element here is that people are identifying now that perhaps we have more in common than we have that divides us. And one of the things that we're focusing on now is educating and equipping people so that as we start to come out of this, they may have a different perspective and indeed different tools that will allow them to better interact with their fellow Americans, particularly those that they disagree with politically. So I think that dynamic is really important right now in our work. And some of the things we're doing, I can categorize them all as things that initially, when we first thought of them, were things that we do in between events, because you can imagine that, you know, after you do an event, you know, builds a lot of excitement and interest, and then there's some time before the next event takes place. So how do you sort of keep that momentum and excitement going? And so what's happened is, rather than sort of work on those as we had time, as event activity, if you will, you know, would slow down. You know, that's kind of gone now. So we're totally focused on those things, and some of those things include developing some personalized content for people where they can come on our site and they can see exactly how to have conversations with people that they might disagree with. We have been working on a podcast series now that we're about to launch. We're going to end up recording 3 podcasts in the next week and a half that we will then be launching as our ongoing podcast series that we're going to be pursuing now for some time to come here, hopefully years. And we're also working on a tool here that will help voters, because we have an election coming up, evaluate political leaders a little bit more in the context of not necessarily their positions, but the degree to which, if you will, they would be what we call common grounders, people that would be likely to work with folks from the other side. And these are all ways in which we are connecting with our target audience, which we call the exhausted majority, which is roughly 70% of Americans who want to move beyond our differences and find common ground to solve problems, as opposed to continue to argue with each other and so forth. So these are all tools and ideas and experiences that inspire people, that empower them and nurture them as they move toward this way of interacting with others that's positive and productive. Because most people we know want to do that. They just don't necessarily know how. And so we're helping them get there.
Yeah, it's all really exciting stuff. And clearly the communications part of it is a big part of it in spreading the message, helping connect people, giving them those tools and resources you've been talking about. Can you talk a little bit more about the role of communications, particularly right now during COVID-19?
You bet. And I have to agree with you. Communications is just really essential right now for a lot of reasons. One of them is, a primary one is, to your point about getting the word out. We have to make sure people know who we are and know where to go when they hear about us so that they can learn more. So some things we've done along those lines have included, we've been very active writing op-ed pieces. Grateful to say that they're being picked up. The most recent one was in USA Today. We have more that we're working on. We have a newsletter that we send out that has been tremendously successful. Indeed, this last one we're very proud of. Largest base of folks yet that we've sent it to, and we had a 38% open rate, which is really strong in this line of work and emailing. Usually with newsletters, the open rate is 12%. And so that's the average. And so we're very, very pleased with how that's gone. We're working on our website. We already think it's fun and interesting. I talked about the folks that we have brought on stage. We have videos of those events. They're inspiring. People learn. They get ideas. That's been great for us. And so we're making sure we get people to our website. And we're in the process now of spending some time to make what's already a good site even better, because we found some new ways that will more naturally and intuitively interact with people so that they can learn more quickly and get places more quickly. And also, of course, we've been very active on social media, and our audience has been growing and growing thanks to you guys. Frankly, Jim, you guys have been really helpful here for us, and we're very pleased with the growth that we've seen. And another area, and this is something I mentioned to other folks that are whether they're in industry or in the nonprofit space, we've been joining forces with other leading organizations in our, you could call it industry, but our domain. It's called the Democracy Reform Movement, where there are a number of organizations. The number now is up to 300 different organizations that we know about that are focused on reforming our democracy from the perspective of process and the way we engage and so forth. So kindred spirits, if you will. And we're working with them to help get the messages out here. There's one campaign in particular called #WeavingCommunity that we've been working on. In fact, we've been part of the leadership team where essentially we're reaching out to people that are isolated and helping them connect. We have a number of tools that we've worked with to help make that happen. And it's really important because people out there now with all of the social distancing and so forth that's going on and people staying in their homes, it's really easy to feel alone and isolated. And so we're working with our colleagues in this space to bridge those divides. They're not political, but they're physical and very, very difficult for people. And the work is going great guns. The uptake in this area has been tremendous, and we're really excited to be a part of it. But all of these things that I've just mentioned are all about communicating, either directly to inform or encouraging others to communicate with each other. And that's such an important thing right now. And as I said, we're working with folks in our own domain. And I would encourage anyone listening to this to reach out to folks in their domain, other organizations like themselves, even competitors if you're in the private sector, to see how you might work together to reach folks that really are in need right now.
Yeah, it's been really inspiring to see Weaving Community take off the way that it has, the way people have responded to it, and in particular with Common Ground Committee's leadership and involvement with that. Yeah, it's been a privilege to be part of this wonderful work with you, Bruce, and Common Ground Committee. As we wrap up this conversation today, I wonder if you had to boil down one piece of advice that you might share with other nonprofit, mission-driven organizations out there. What is it that you think that they should be doing?
So, Jim, before I answer your question, I'm just going to throw out one piece of information. If people find that the work we're doing is interesting and would like to see some of those videos I mentioned, you can find us at www.commongroundcommittee.org. And I'd encourage you to go there. As far as advice for other folks that are working through this crisis, I think that now is the time to over-communicate, to reach out and touch your constituency in a big way, because people remember who stepped up in tough situations. And this is a great time to do some real good for people and to stand out to those who follow and support you. It's really important right now. It's a great opportunity. And I would encourage you to just keep whatever mechanism you may have or mechanisms you may have to reach out to people. Think about doing that, in a big way and often, so they know you're out there and they know you're supporting them.
Wonderful. Some great advice from Bruce Bond of the Common Ground Committee. It's an important time for people to be out there communicating and connecting with each other and working to solve problems, which is one of the big things that you're trying to help people do. So thank you so much for your time with us today. It was a pleasure getting to hear your story.
You bet, Jim. I appreciate your reaching out to me. I enjoyed the conversation.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for watching.